this, if we get this coordinator on staff, maybe they can do some of the programs at the high school and the events that we have around the city. I mean, we have a lot of events, so surely
Yeah.
we can publicize it, maybe draw some attention. You know, no matter how you sugarcoat it, volunteers is a hard thing these days to find. I mean, it's not just fire service, it's anything you do. I know everybody talks about it, but that's just a struggle we've had for years, and it keeps getting worse and worse.
So the grant has an incentive. There's, the target is to hire 20 or to onboard 20 volunteers. And the incentive is there are 10 scholarships for those 20 volunteers, $4,000 scholarships. They can use it for trade school, they can use it for community college, anything that they want it to, as long as it's a certified program. But that should help, and then that'll come with hopefully some hooks that will allow us to retain them. So if somebody takes advantage of the incentive, then they would have to make a commitment to stay with the department for a while. But the biggest part of that SAFER grant is the recruiting and retention coordinator. And we really just got into that when we posted it on the website, as well as on some of the job sites. It got some attention, so that's what had all these people coming around and asking about it. And that's the biggest chunk of it, of the SAFER grant, is the money for that recruiting and retention coordinator. So.
Yeah, a couple things. On volunteers, I agree with you there. That's 100% fact. The airpack deal is a big deal. And I remember, we paid like $250 for that grant process to be.
Yes, actually, it was a $750 for the grant writer, and we split it 3 ways. It was $250 for each department. Yes.
But for Wilsonville and Kingdom, 40 for us is a lot.
It is.
But 22 for Wilsonville and Kingdom, that's a big time.
Yeah. So at 10 grand apiece, if you want to round it, that's $220,000.
I believe it's a 5% matching grant, so that's, is that what it was, 5%?
Oh, yeah.
So our part, less than $20,000 on our part of the city.
Wow.
This is equipment we were gonna have to purchase anyway.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
They have a
there's
shelf
budget
life.
again this year. At some point, yes, we have to purchase them, yes.
Those things have a shelf life, and he's inspected and re-inspected. Some of them, I think the maximum amount you can do that, right?
But for a grant, no,
So it was right on target, time-wise, I mean, we're right on target, so it's been truly a blessing that happened.
But to really spend $750 to get an $800,000 grant minus the max, that's significant.
Yeah, and by the way, there were 500 and something nationwide. There were, I believe, I got it on a chart here too, on the mayor's report, that there was 500 and something grants awarded nationwide, and the average was roughly $150,000. We got 784.
Now, let me say this about the grant, okay? Number one, I'm not gonna stand here and tell you how that happened, but that's something, that collaborative grant is something we talked about and discussed for 2 or 3 years. But in myself and Chief Edwards discussing it, I will give the credit to Chief Parker at Kingdom. He actually came on, and when he found out what we was doing and we wanted to include him, he jumped in with all feet, and he was like, let's don't talk about it, let's do it. You know, he's kind of like one of them guys, and he found the grant writer, somebody he knew, and had he not been all in, I mean, he came to the station, and you know, it's hard. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, it's hard for us to come up with our time to do all this, but he set up Zoom meetings and all this, and I mean, it just went like clockwork. So Chief Parker at Kingdom did a lot of the work, and I'd like to give him that credit.
Well, that's good.
That's significant.
And these federal grants, they like the collaboration amongst the different governmental entities, so that was helpful as well.
Couple more things. So I'll pass along the safer retention person to a couple things. That's good. We're getting some traction there. I think the guys I passed on were full-time firemen, so hopefully they've reached out and however we go there. I think that's pretty significant. But I just got finished with, you meet the teachers at school, and I talked to all these teachers and stuff, and the city's growing, and we talked about this before. When do we think that, and this is a question for all of us and the chief, when do we think that a second fire station is going to come into play? Is there a threshold for that, or running across the tracks deal, or?
I think it just depends on your growth. I mean, right now, I mean, if your growth continues on the west side of town,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you're getting growth on the Jonertown side, but that's kind of not near what we're experiencing on the west side of town. You know, and as we grow and as we get these volunteers and these new people, that's where our population is gonna be on the west side. And if we continue to be a volunteer department, I would hope that that would be a resource to pull volunteers from the west side of town where most of our population is going. So that's where your new homes, your younger people are gonna live. And that would be an attraction to pull some of those people that would wanna participate. So all that kind of fits as a puzzle. Depending on how fast we move with the development out there.
But I guess the first thing, you gotta identify a spot, put it.
Well, that was one of my questions, is with the money that we have in budget, that we don't have to have, or use for that anymore, that you just got the grant for, then why, is there a way to start utilizing that toward now starting to look over there and nail down some of that money for
Well,
something else?
that's gonna be up to y'all. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, we've had three major projects in the last 5 years that you've seen on the budget, okay? And that's the air packs, the truck, and
Right.
a station.
Mhm.
So how they fall, that's up to y'all.
Right,
I say it's a blessing we got the air packs. The air packs are a gimme.
oh yeah,
We got
that's
that.
awesome,
So we've got two more large obstacles.
that we need to accomplish.
Would you say the truck is more important at this point?
I say we definitely need a new apparatus because our apparatus is outdated. My question is, if you get the apparatus and you truly have the plan to put another station on the other side of town, what are you gonna do with the apparatus you have if you don't have the station first? You gonna put what we got outside, we gonna put it in storage to build a station? I mean, it's kinda like what come first, the
Yeah.
chicken or the egg?
Kind of the same level.
Well, I do think we need to look at the vehicles that we have and perhaps retire some older vehicles. We don't
We do.
necessarily need to just keep adding vehicles.
But at the same time, you gotta have enough to
Yeah.
fill a station.
It's a good point. That's
Right.
something that we need to kick around. It's my opinion that we need the truck first. We need the apparatus first. Earlier on, a few years ago, until there was a change in how ISO evaluated us, railroad track became an important issue, and we thought we needed the fire station to avoid getting downgraded, which would affect our residents' insurance premiums.
Right.
Well, they changed the evaluation criteria. That's no longer as significant an issue, but the age of the equipment is,
That's
and that will affect our rating. And I
Now,
think
what does affect us is the travel time from here to the other side of town during peak hours. That does affect us. At night, morning, doesn't really matter. Traffic time, you're looking at, probably the best you can do is a good 6 to 7 minutes.
Well, I can tell you, if you hit traffic going out like through Jackson, that intersection, if you hit that wrong time in the morning, afternoon, but
Yeah.
that can't be, that's gonna be from here to, it's only gonna get more active, but I was just curious, all you hear about is the school seeing additional kids coming in on a routine basis now, and it got me thinking, and I was like, well, I just think it needs to.
Like I said, as the population grows, I think the need needs to follow the population. So, you know, if our population is gonna be a third more on that side of town is what we have
Yeah.
in the whole downtown area, then yeah, that definitely
Yeah.
puts the need for
So-
something on that side of town.
two things, been some preliminary discussions, and we're a long way off for it becoming into anything. But I had some conversations with county manager and the county transportation engineer, and we're going to do some more work and collaborate with AlDOT, but to try to see if we can't push 4-lane 70 to at least to 26. And that would give maneuvering room, if you will, during the peak hours for a truck to get around the traffic. And also, I think it would help ingress and egress into the subdivisions there and whatnot. As far as the location that you were talking about, Vicki, you know, the county had offered us a spot there.
Yeah, I thought
And
that was
that may still be in play.
That's what I was wondering, if
Yeah.
maybe that would still be possible, because that's a great area right there too.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you gotta identify a spot first where you
Right.
feel some change.
That's right, and I would say that comes with how your growth's laid out. And talking about growth, changing the subject just a little, but if the most of you haven't been out the Georgetown area, that's a place that's really moving up. That's some fine looking, homes and some nice pieces of property. And it's turned out very nice, and if you hadn't rode up there, you probably need to ride up there and look at it. The Second Chance Ranch, we've done some inspections out there this week, we've been working with them. It's come along very nicely. It's gonna be a very nice piece of property that's added to the city. I mean, that little area is growing well too. So it's not just what you see on the west side. I mean, I know a lot of you don't go out that road, but it's turning into a nice area.
It would be nice, and I don't, and then we move on, it'd be nice if we could have a connection road from that west side and Georgetown side, somehow through the woods, and it'd take a big development, but
And eventually that'll probably happen.
yeah, it's gonna have to.
So,
Congratulations on the grant. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's big.
Any other questions for the chief? All righty, moving right along. Library.
You see that bag? or is it
Okay,
just-
everything's going well. We've had no safety issues this month. Budget is good, staffing looks good. We had an estimate of 2,100 visitors for the month of July. Keep in mind, it was summer reading, so our traffic does pick up. For July, we provided $72,494 worth of services just in July. Of course, that is up from last year. We had a very successful summer reading program with 147 total signed up. That is definitely up from last year. I think we had 117. So, a lot of kids reading. We have 15 signed up already for the adult summer reading program. I talked about it, last month. For every 3 books you check out, you get entered into the big prize draw at the end. And, we're excited for that, to get the adults reading too. So, that's basically all we have. August is kind of light after summer reading, so. But we look forward to September.
Great. Well, maybe you'll have kids lined up there, and the school's starting back to
Oh, yeah,
do their book reports and their research projects and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
like that.
we are always busy.
Any other questions for Jennifer? Okay. Environmental services.
There hasn't been a whole lot changed. We've got a new employee and a part-time employee. So they come on board just in time for when Chris was gonna be out for quite a while. So I've been training, one of them is, worked for the city many years ago, retired from the city, so he's been just helping cut grass and stuff like that. But the other guy, he's catching on real quick, so glad he came on board. So our issues and concerns, those numbers have changed since yesterday, not to the good. So the plant rebuild came in at $18,800,000. We reworked some of the design, got the cost down to $14,488. The total cost for construction and engineering will be $15,019,000. Grant money was gonna be $5,525,000. So that number is half and two. One of them was ARPA, one of them was BIL. So I got a phone call late this afternoon. I had prepared the PowerPoint. Didn't have time to change that, so that number has changed. And the total amount of the SRF loan has changed, so that has went up, $2 million or something.
So what's the total amount of the grant?
Half of the 525.
Well, that's what we had before.
Yeah, so
That's no additional grant money.
we're not getting the BIL money.
What is BIL?
I don't know.
Euro,
Me and Charlene asked Dave that when we had him on speakerphone.
And I forgot what he said yesterday.
he was on the phone yesterday with, me and Charlene going over the numbers, and that was the numbers he gave me, confident in them.
So we basically had the same amount of grant, which was 5, 6 something or other, half of that, 5.5.
So it was like 2.7.
And so to that, 9.9 or 9.5, we gotta add about 2.7 to that.
Right.
So it's 11, about 12 million in a loan. So I'm glad you brought this up because this is a significant issue for us. We don't really have an option of not fixing the sewage treatment plant. We have to do it. And obviously we were hopeful that we would get more grant money. But we were still gonna have to borrow almost another $10 million, and now we're having to borrow maybe more than $12 million, maybe $12.5 million. And, that's a big problem for us. If we can get it from the SRF loan, that is great. The question is, at what rate? The first loan, the 2.7 million loan was 1.99%, so is this gonna be 1.99%?
So Dave said, worst case scenario, he said, because that number changes every year, so he's hoping for the 1.99, he said, worst case scenario, 2.2.
All right, so then the other part of it is the term of the loan was 20 years. I had done some rough calculation using something I found on the internet on loans, and we put in the interest rate, put the number of periods, and I think I came up with like $136,000 a year for the debt service on that 2.7 million. So now we have to almost quadruple it. And so it's more than triple. So 136 times 3 is $400,000 or $500,000 to the debt service that we already have, which is $800,000 a year. So we're looking at almost $1.5 million a year in debt service, which is too much. But again, we have to do what we have to do. But the other point is we can't put this out for bid until we've got the financing arranged. Well, technically we could, but we can't award a contract until the financing is arranged. Now, when I talked to ADEM before since some of that is, the grant part is coming from ARPA funds, we have to have those obligated by the end of this year, which means and the definition of obligated is a contract in place. So I've been told I was gonna get this letter. I need to find out when we're gonna get the real terms here so that we can start making some decisions. So if you can work with David and David can work with his contact at ADEM, we've got to get some kind of offer on these terms pretty quickly in order for us to put this thing out for bid and get a contract in place. I would rather not, this is me, I would rather not put it out for bid. There's nothing that says if somebody comes back and we get a compliant bid and we open it up and said, you're the successful bidder, we're not obligated to award them a contract. But you don't want to get a reputation of putting bids out and not giving people contracts, because then people aren't gonna respond to your bids. So that's why I'd like to have the financing in place before we get to that point. That's my concern.
This right here, we've already taken bids on it.
I understand, but we don't have a contract in place.
Right, we don't have the contract because we was in negotiation.
And the other thing is, we missed the mark so bad on this, okay? We might wanna ask ourselves, do we wanna put it out for bid again? I don't know. It's something that we should consider. Because we only got the one response, right?
And then,
And if you put this new group of this new set of specs out there. I don't know, just things we need to kick around. Anything that we could do to get that number down lower.
I think the only way you get that number down lower is to have additional people bid on it, you know?
Yeah.
Curious, yeah. I guess.
Yeah, it's a conundrum, but at the end of the day, we gotta have a contract in place. And even though we've got a bid, I can't award it, we can't put a contract in place until we've got the financing secured. We can't obligate ourselves for something we don't have the money for. So that's what we gotta push. We can talk about that later. So you got any other good news?
No,
Okay. You guys got any other questions for Dale? Okay, community affairs, senior services.
All right, so summer went really well, and we are wrapping it up finally. Not really finally, but we currently we're working on Community Pep Rally and Discover Shelby Fest, which is in October, and all the fall things and Christmas, as crazy as it sounds. So in July, the Senior Center served 1,050 meals and went on some trips and did some fun things. And coming up in August is the chamber board meeting at the Grand Hall. Shelby County High School football is doing a banquet, and then the American Legion have a seminar on Saturday morning. So. And then I have a new employee, a new part-time person, Ashley Frizzle. She's already jumped in and is moving mountains. So.
She's sweet.
So, the high school does its football banquet at the beginning of the year?
I think that's a fundraiser.
Oh,
Yeah, they're having a retired coach.
Speaker, I think. Who is it?
Yeah, Coach Anderson from Vestavia Hills. He was there for like 40 years, so.
Well, I haven't mentioned it to Coach Zeb, but I ran into an old friend that I grew up with since we were toddlers. I ran into him recently, Coach David Cutcliffe, and asked him if he would speak to our high school. He said he'd love to. Now his schedule, because he has a position with Southeastern Conference now, is probably difficult to get on, but the sooner we know when they're going to have their banquet, I could put that
I'll find out.
out to get Coach Cut to come speak to him.
That might be another good fundraiser.
Well,
I
you
mean,
know,
for
if you're
real.
gonna charge, if we could get the Grand Hall and fill it up.
Yeah,
So that would be
So,
fundraising.
Because a lot of
the
people
Pep
would-
Rally will be different this year than it has been before. Ms. Fry retired, and another person has taken over those duties, and she really wanted to do the community pep rally at the school. So the plan is to do that on the 17th. It's a Saturday, which is completely different than we've ever done it before, and it's during the Cardinal and White game. The original plan, they wanted to do it on the football field, but you have to pay to get in the Cardinal and White game, and I really didn't feel like we could ask people to pay money to go to a community pep rally. So the pep rally will be in the gym. I know, it scares me about seating and making it all work. So we're gonna give it a go, because that's what they wanted to do, and we're here to support them.
Aren't they having the pet rally before the varsity football team plays?
Yes, so there'll be another pep rally before.
But you're talking about the community pep rally is gonna be in the gym.
Who's the new corner?
Yeah, so they're gonna play, go in, and come back.
What is
I don't know.
do what?
Miss Rogers is her
They're-
name, and I'm
they're
trying to
gonna-
forget
They're
her
playing
name
all
first.
day, then going in the gym, coming out. of
Rogers.
It's really weird.
We talked, we had some talk. I hope it's gonna go well. So they have it all arranged, they figured out a whole plan and how to lay it all out to get everybody in there, so. I think they really they've updated some things in the gym, gotten some new ADA accessible bathrooms, which is amazing. Had some work done, and I think they're just wanting to show things off, so.
I'm glad they got the bathrooms updated.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Could we have added on to the gym some? Push a wall out, I love it.
Any questions for Alex? Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Did the library board meet?
No.
That's the reason I got the question marks there.
We meet at the end of August.
Yeah, I don't know why, I've got it on my calendar, so, there you go. Okay, this is not happening, Orange House, had to
Never mind.
reschedule to the 20th, so the next meeting. Okay, this is a resolution for the transportation plan. Sherlyn, could you explain the transportation plan for us?
Yes, this is the 10-cent gas tax, and part of that act is every August, we have to designate how much money we're anticipating to get next fiscal year and what project that is used on. So that money is designated, it's the only one that has to be designated to a specific project. So we just have to pass this every year.
Okay, and so the project is the repaving of Nelson Walker Road. The project is more than that, and it's more than $100,000 more than that. That $54,000 is what we anticipate receiving in fiscal year 2025, and then we have a balance, I don't remember what it is, in that account as well. So, and we'll use money from the various gas taxes and state capital funds for our paving projects and whatnot, as well as what we budgeted for in the, what we will budget for in the Public Works Department as well. So, are there any questions, discussion on this? Okay, so would someone like to introduce Resolution 82401 to adopt the transportation plan?
I'll introduce resolution 082401 for fiscal year 2025 transportation.
Okay, do we need a roll call?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, so we'll have a roll call.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the resolution passed unanimously for the 25 transportation plan. There are, by the way, other projects in our preliminary budget that we're working on right now that we'll be talking about as far as paving projects. We've had to, because of the late award of the Rebuild Alabama grant, basically everything we were going to do this fiscal year is going to get rolled over into the next fiscal year, plus a few more things besides Nelson Walker Road. We'll be talking about that more in the next few weeks. Okay, so this is what we talked about during the work session. This is an ordinance to establish the salaries for the elected officials of the town, the mayor and the city council. There has not been a salary increase for public officials or for elected officials since November of 2015, which is the beginning of fiscal year 2016, and we cannot vote ourselves a pay raise while we are in office. So this would be for the next term of whoever's elected in office, and would take effect in November of 2025, which would be fiscal year 2026, which is 10 years since the last time. Some of our neighboring communities have already done this and are considering it, but so we'll take it up now. So the last increase was will be 10 years from the time this one goes into effect. That's the cumulative inflation. This is a little thing you can get on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, which is a inflation calculator. So since November of 2015 through May of this year, and the number didn't change for June, I just didn't, I calculated it, but there's been a 32% increase in the cost of living over that 10-year period, according to the CPI. City staff, since during our term, with what we're proposing for FY25, about a 17.4% increase. So we're not proposing to take all of that 32%. We're saying, okay, 20% increase for elected officials. Council members going from 800 to 1,000, mayor pro tem from 1,000 to 1,200, and the mayor from 2,000 to 2,400. So again, that's consistent with surrounding communities, taking a look at that. And are there any questions or discussion on that?
Well, to be honest, with all the grim news that we
I
had
know.
tonight, I kinda don't know if I wanna kick this down the road just a little bit, so we can get some of that taken care of first.
Well, how far would you kick it down? It's been 10 years, and this is not gonna take effect until fiscal year 16.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but
So, here's what I'll say. And we can talk more about this. So, you know, we need a fire truck, we need potentially a firehouse.
Sewer.
And we've got the sewer thing. And those things are always gonna happen. You know, in order to attract the kind of people that we would like to attract, obviously, to run for public office, this is the argument that all the other cities make. But it has credences, is, you know, you gotta compensate them such that it's at least worth their while. And for the most part, for most of the other cities, we're comparable. The mayor's salary is generally much less than the other cities in the county. But that's okay, you know, so, I just think we have been able to keep up with our recurring revenue, our taxes, our recurring taxes, and our fees, license fees and things of that nature, has been exceeding the pace of inflation. So there you have it. Anyway, any other discussion?
Well, I think you've only got 2 months. If you don't consider now, you've only got 2 months you can do it. Right.
No.
Well,
This,
well,
we gotta do it
deadline?
6 months before, a minimum of 6 months before, FY '26. We're just coming into FY '25, so.
You have to do it 6 months before the election,
We're about a 6, before the election, you're right.
which will be August,
August
so it'll be
timeframe.
February. You've got till next
So
February.
we've got about another 6 months that we could.
I'm fine with that, you know, I think it's, you know, I'm not sure, I don't want to use the word needed, but I think it's something that you have to consider in terms of, stuff like this. Obviously, it's been a while, I understand if you're doing it every 4 years. But,
Well, you know, if you did it every 4 years, you'd certainly do it, or even every 5 years, do it in smaller chunks. And, you know, I've tried to look back and see what the other cities have done, and they probably don't wait 10 years to do it. I think that,
but I do agree on the other expenses in terms of sewer system, fire truck, fire truck. I do agree on that too.
Okay, so, there's no other discussion. Would anyone like to introduce the ordinance?
I'll introduce ordinance 082402, establishing the monthly salary of the mayor and council members effective, what's that wrong?
November 2025.
November 2025.
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
no.
Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the ordinance passed. Okay. Is there any other city business that anyone would like to bring up this time?
Yeah, I've been asked a couple times about, there's a, around Mildred Street, last house on the left. I don't think, there's 2 houses there, one's in front of Sarah Catherine's house. You look at there out to the left, there's a strip of, sidewalk that's right there in front of those 2 houses. And, I've been asked a couple times about multiple people, if we can consider replacing that sidewalk. It's crumpled up, there's no trees there, I don't know if there's any stumps, it's pretty level, so I mean, it'd be an easy,
Okay, we've got a budget line for sidewalk repair, in the proposed budget, $50,000. Actually, it's in this budget too, so if we can get it done before the end of the
Yeah.
fiscal year. How long is the strip, do you know? Is
it's
it a
probably,
sidewalk or just
Probably like two of the little things.
it's probably less than 50 yards, well,
All right, so here's what we'll do. I'll have
it's not
Alan
very long.
go take a look at it,
From Sarah
And,
Catherine's to the road.
and then we'll get somebody to see if we can
Yeah.
get a quote on it. I mean, it's just put some things.
I bet it's 20, 25 yards maybe, 25 yards, yeah.
I mean, if that, yeah.
And then,
I have to write that.
in 2025, we've got some money, the same amount of money in the budget. The high school has wanted, where we have the steps on Ferry Road on each end, they wanted an ADA access to that sidewalk. We were not gonna tear out the steps because it would make the slope too steep and you'd have to almost replace the entire sidewalk. But what we were gonna do is come around the side of the steps with an ADA access, coming up there. So, I told, when I reviewed Alan's budget request, I said, we want to make sure that we got that done in fiscal year 25 to get that done as well. So I think there is, we can take care of this. And if we don't get it done before the end of this fiscal year, we should have enough funding in there to take care of both of them.
Maybe we got a surplus or something that we need to do.
Well,
The other thing, and I wish Al was here tonight, the same, some more individuals asked me about a security light, you know, the lights they're putting up on the streets now, the big LED stuff, right there on that cut-through road, what's the name of that cut-through road, Alley? Jefferson Street. And the reason I say that too is because there's a lot of people parked there at night,
Ball game.
and it is pitch dark, so that'd be another thing that we may get asked about.
put the light on the Mildred Street side or on,
It's you turn off Mildred Street, it's between Mildred and, like going to a board education from Mildred, that old cut-through road, it is dark, it's,
but I mean, would you want the light on Mildred Street or would you want it on,
Sure.
College Street?
I think if we put it in the middle,
Like on Jefferson Street in the middle?
yeah, I would think right there in the middle on Jefferson Street would be
There used to be a light.
beneficial, and there may be one there.
So
that-
if there needs to be a pole there,
I think there used to be a light on that pole.
if there's a pole there,
Yeah,
we just have to ask Alabama Power to put it there and say we'll agree to pay for the light.
and there may be, wherever, I say wherever, if there's an existing pole there, put it where it's at,
Yeah.
but I mean, if there's not.
Unless the pole's on the private property, it can't, it
Yeah.
has to be on the street.
Yeah. I think they.
Yeah, a lot of people park there for ball
Wow.
games and basketball
And it's
games.
pitch
and-
dark,
So, I'll check that out.
Oh, we did have a beautification board meeting, and we've talked about maybe getting benches and maybe a picnic bench or something to put out by the tennis courts and the pickleball courts. So we would try to maybe collaborate with the rec board and see if we can.
Sure. Hey, do we know when they're starting on that? Not that yet.
I emailed and I haven't got an answer yet.
Well, everybody I've talked to about that area, so I would think benches and picnic tables.
Yeah,
would be
I think-
good.
Yeah.
That area has been well received, so
Yeah.
it's been good.
It'd be nice if
That'd be good. That'd be
do a
good.
gazebo, so it's shaded, so.
Mm-hmm.
But, while we're talking about that, if the beautification board wants to put together a budget for their plans for fiscal year 25, I could use that like yesterday.
Well, we should have told me because we talked about it last night.
Yeah. So, because we've plugged a number into the appropriations for the beautification board, but, you know, so you can have Lisa call me or whatever.
Okay, I will. What about the signs? Is that a possibility at
What
all?
signs?
The City of Columbiana signs, welcome signs.
As far as the whole big thing,
Yeah,
I don't see that.
okay.
I just-
That's what I thought too. I was just thought I'd
I
throw
would
it out
love
there.
to be able to do some nicer signs, but, when I look at the
I know.
priorities and the availability of funds, I just don't see that. I would like to take the established 1837 little strip off the bottom though. 'Cause
We might see if we can get Scott to at least try to,
it's just a piece of wood that runs across the bottom.
well, and also some of the letters are coming
I was
off.
gonna say, could you just
Yeah,
replace the
maybe we
letter?
could just replace
I don't
what's
know
broken
if
off.
the letters were like chiseled into it.
Yeah,
and
I
filled
don't
with
think
paint.
they
I
were,
haven't looked
because
at it.
some of them have actually come off, so we'll get-
Anyway, that shouldn't be a big deal. It's
No.
just that part of it. And then, you know, maybe we can refresh the signs.
Yes, yeah, because we've tried to clean them.
Right.
Can't.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'm not gonna rehash the assistance to firefighters grants for the breathing apparatus. I think we did that. Budget review's been going well. I'm completing the department reviews by the 8th of August. And then we'll do a couple of reviews and try to finalize it with city council on the 22nd and the 29th. What I'll do is I'll present it to you guys on the 22nd, and then we'll come together on the 29th to talk about it, so after you've had a chance to study it. And then we will do the budget presentation at council meeting, first council meeting in September, and have discussion there, and if, you know, we might adopt it then, depending upon, you know, how things are going, and if not, the plan is to adopt it on the second council meeting, which is September the 17th. So far, I've been pleased with the budgets that we've gotten from the departments, and the reviews, it's gone pretty well, so I think it's gonna be, the budget's gonna look good. There's gonna be about $5 million worth of grant money in this budget, so these grants are really, really important. Okay, Safer, like I said, we've got 9 resumes for candidates, and so we're gonna get together with the chief and maybe the assistant chief on the 12th and 13th, and look through those resumes, kind of narrow it down, figure out who we want to interview, and conduct the interviews the week of August the 19th. Shelby County Mayor's Association quarterly meeting is next Wednesday. That's hosted by the city of Montevallo, and then the next quarterly meeting after that will be in November. That's hosted here in Columbiana. And then the Shelby County Chamber Board of Directors meeting the following day after the Mayor's Association meeting is hosted by the city of Columbiana at the Grand Hall here. So it's great that you get all these investors from the Shelby County Chamber come to Columbiana, and we get to sort of show off and brag about our town, so our city. Any questions, comments about that stuff? Announcements?
All right, so school starts on Thursday. August the 17th is the community pep rally at the Shelby County High School Gym, 5:45. And then things coming up, homecoming is September the 27th this year, and then October 12th is Discover Shelby Fest.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Al? Public comments? Anybody have any questions or comments they want to bring up? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.